Welcome to the September 24th, 2024 Council meeting. Please stand for the invocation by Councilman Helgeson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, thank you so much for this beautiful day. Thank you for the rain that washes clean, and thank you for your blood that washed us clean. Lord, I thank you for this time that we can gather. Thank you that we can discuss and vote on items that are of importance to our citizens. Lord, I pray that you will give us wisdom and guidance. Help us to always seek you for wisdom in making difficult decisions. Thank you for each of these citizens that are here to witness and to talk and to recognize their place and their role in government as we are their representatives. Lord, I pray that you'll bless our time. May it be fruitful. May it be edifying to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Early today, our fourth work session, we decided to move boards and commissions to the end of this meeting.
Yes.
However, we received a lot of great applications, but some boards we've received no applications. So if it'd be okay with council, can we push this off to the October 8th meeting? That way I can keep advertising for our vacancies.
Sure. Is it okay with everyone? Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Tonight's City Council agenda is divided into 4 sections: consent agenda, public hearing, public comment, and general business. The first section is consent agenda. This section includes routine items, and all items may be approved by one vote. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote, please.
Thank you. The motion passed.
Good. Great. The next section is public hearings. This section includes all public hearings as required by law or as council may direct. Staff will make a presentation. Comments will then be solicited from the public. An individual speaker shall have 3 minutes to speak. If the speaker represents a group, the speaker shall have 5 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall identify that group at the beginning of his or her remarks. And a group, yes.
Yes, the voting did not capture Councilmember Wilder's vote. I'm so sorry. Was that a yes?
It was a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. A speaker representing a group shall identify that group at the beginning of his or her remarks, and a group may have only one spokesperson. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and their locality of residence. Upon the conclusion of public comments, the public hearing will be closed and the matter referred to council for deliberation. Consideration of adopting a resolution granting a non-exclusive interim license to Firefly Fiber Broadband to maintain and operate telecommunications facilities within the city of Lynchburg, Virginia. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Mr. Lee Newland, hello.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Firefly is a company that is trying to put some fiber communications within the city of Lynchburg, and they have asked to have a non-exclusive license agreement within the city. So after the public hearing, there's a resolution to be passed that's behind it. This did go to Physical Development Committee last month. And also, just to let you know, there's 2 representatives from Firefly here, one of them being the CEO of the company, Mr. Gary Ward.
Okay, thank you so much. Would the petitioner like to make a presentation?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I don't have a presentation,
Okay.
but I would like to take the opportunity to thank the staff who's worked with us to put the application together. It's our first application inside the city. We're just coming through the corner of the city limits out in between a couple of areas in Campbell County where we have some grant funds to serve unserved locations. but we do need to come through the city, and we appreciate your consideration. Hope you'll allow us to do that. In return, I'll promise to make sure that service is available to even those who are served if we cross in front of them. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them. I have my engineering manager, Jesse Ward, with me as well. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. We will call you up if we have any questions. Appreciate that. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this project? Anyone who would like to oppose the project? Are there any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay. The public hearing is now closed and the matter rests with council. Vice Mayor Feraldi? Well, actually, this item went to our Fiscal Development Committee on September 10th. So I will defer to the chair of that committee, but thank you for supporting it already. That's great. Councilman Taylor?
Yeah, this item came before CDC, and we did Physical Development Committee, and we did agree that this company should be able to provide services to our citizens in Lynchburg.
Yes.
So I move for approval.
Okay, thank you. And this does not require a second. So is there any additional discussion? Vice Mayor?
I was just so eager to have something other than Comcast that I just had to second it. So.
Any additional discussion, comments? No? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
There we go. The motion passes.
Great. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Consideration of adopting a resolution approving the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER, program year 2023, fiscal year 2024, and requiring the submission of the same to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Melva Walker, hello.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. This evening, council is conducting a public hearing to receive comments regarding the program year 2023 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, report known as the CAPER, for the Community Development Block Grant and Home Program, and approve a resolution for submittal of the report to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD. A copy of the report has been provided to you. Here are some of the projects that we have done this year. Whoops, not mine.
But it's flipping over there now, but I don't know if yeah.
Yeah, it's flipping here, but it's not mine. Wait a minute, let's see if I can, oh, here it is.
There you go.
Okay, I was like, I don't know much about lifelong learning. I feel like I've lived my life learning this, but anyway. All right, so here you have some of the, a summary of the expenditures that occurred this year. We had resources under the Community Development Block Grant of $711,154, and we expended $633,315. Under the Home Program, we had $470,880, and we expended $92,811. And then under the Community Development Block Grant, the CV funds that were appropriated in 2020, we had available $136,352, and we expended $30,041. Our major project this year under the Community Development Block Grant is the Jefferson Park project that we're working on right now. The plaza is going to include a shelter, some furnishings around that, a walking path, and then some improvements with stairs and rails to the amphitheater. This phase of the revitalization project is planned to be completed in fiscal year 2025, and there were $321,151 of CDBG funds expended for this project this year. One of our other major projects that we have, of course, is the Central Virginia Continuum of Care Coordinated Homeless Intake and Access, known as CHIA. In this program year, there were 5,030 calls for people seeking homeless services. 361 households were referred for homeless prevention services, 33 households to emergency shelter, 46 households to domestic violence services, and 354 households to street outreach services. There was $61,751 of CDBG funds expended for this activity. And then under the Home Program, Greater Lynchburg Habitat for Humanity expended $51,772 for down payment assistance to to 3 clients. And then they are also, some of those were under the Knott Street project. If you remember, we did the infrastructure project for that. And they're now building the homes there. And they have 4 homes under construction at this time. The Florida Terrace apartments have been completed. There was home funds provided to that project in prior years, and that project was completed this year. And there are now 31 affordable housing units for persons with disabilities and low income. Under the CDBG CV funds, we have had a couple projects that expended. This is all related to COVID, and there were a couple projects that expended funds this year. The Safe at Home Emergency Assistance at Interfaith Outreach expended $11,447, and the Emergency Housing and Utility Program at Lynchburg Community Action Group expended $10,264. That's just a short summary of all of the accomplishments that we did, and I'll be glad to answer any questions after the public hearing.
Thank you so much. Okay, is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor?
Hello.
Hello.
Kimberly Dyke Harsley, City of Lynchburg. I'll generally speak in favor because I like the progress that I see from when I was volunteering on CDAC and to see the progress that has been made. With the condition that I'd like to add something to page 67 of the CAPER report. Talks about other focused highlights. Title 10.1 in the Conservation Code of Virginia. Subtitle 2, Chapter 12.1, Section 1237, letter E. The grants may be used to pay the reasonable and necessary costs associated with environmental and cultural resource site assessments, which are important to many of the indigenous population here, I myself included, misnomered another racial classification, but sites are very important to us, such as graveyards. Subsection 3 says also for the appropriate treatment of grave sites. Lynchburg Union Cemetery operated for so-called Blacks from 1925 through the 1960s. Thank you to Ted Delaney for his information posted. Environmental Law Institute says that the term brownfield typically refers to land that is idle, abandoned, or underused. I'd like to know who those so-called Black families are who are buried at the end of Smith Street in Darrington, and that their remains are not disturbed in any project from the owners of the property behind it. I don't know what they have in store, but Lynchburg Union Cemetery, like to be added to the list. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay, the public hearing is closed and the matter rests with council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second, did it go to see that committee or? Second.
Councilman Taylor, go ahead.
Yes.
When it went to CDAC.
Does it come to the committee?
No,
Thank you.
come straight to council for public hearing. That's what the citizen participation plan has for it. But they do get a copy of it.
Well, thank you, Ms. Walker. I know we worked hard on this and we got all this stuff taken care of this year. And a lot of people has been served. And I move that we approve this.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Wilder?
Yeah, again, just want to commend Ms. Walker and her staff for doing an amazing job and work with the funds. These funds are greatly needed to help improve our community. The Florida Terrace are some amazing projects by Rush Homes. So I just commend them for that work and all the work. I think Habitat had a open house on Saturday. I was out of town. Had open house on Saturday for one of their developments on Knott Street. So again, there's some great things going forth in our community with this project and with Miriam's house and helping with persons who are homeless. I get calls every other day about some referrals for homelessness that need some assistance. So I refer them to Miriam's house to that, is it the Chia line it's called? Yes, so I refer them to that line. So again, thank you for these funds from CDBG funds that can help these programs to help our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and vote.
Did you record it? Did you vote? Ah. The motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on. Consideration of introducing a resolution approving the allocation of the program year 2021 Home American Rescue Plan funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Bella Walker.
Good evening again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. You're being requested tonight to approve the Home American Rescue Plan, known as HOME-ARP funds, for the development of a new construction rental housing project. In fiscal year 2022, program year 2021 of the home program year, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, provided HOME-ARP funds in the amount of approximately $5 billion of supplemental home funds across the nation. These funds were to be used to assist individuals or households who are homeless, at risk of homelessness, and other vulnerable populations known as qualifying populations. The city was awarded $1,498,471, of which 10% of the funds were approved for program administration. The categories of qualifying populations include persons who are homeless or at risk of homelessness as defined in the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, persons who are fleeing domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or human trafficking, or other populations who do not qualify within any of these categories above but require services or housing assistance to prevent homelessness, or those who are at the greatest risk of housing instability. The city had to devise a home allocation plan for the use of these funds. The plan was developed and approved by City Council and HUD in January of 2023. According to the approved plan, the funds were designated for rental housing development. Within the plan, it was noted that the funds would be used to assist either a for-profit, nonprofit, or city-designated community housing development organization, known as a CHODO within the home program, to produce affordable rental housing. There is $1,348,624 available for an eligible rental housing project. City staff issued a request for proposals, and only one proposal was received. Rush Homes, a home program certified community housing development organization, submitted a proposal for the development of Carolyn's Place in the amount of $1,348,624. The Community Development Advisory Committee, known as CDAC, met on March 29th and reviewed the proposal that was submitted by Rush Homes for these funds. CDAC recommended the approval and allocation of the HOME-ARP funds to Rush Homes for the development of the Carolyn's Place project. The Carolyn's Place project will be a rental housing new construction project. The project will consist of 8 rental units with 4 efficiency units and 4 one-bedroom units, potentially in duplexes. These units will be fully accessible and dedicated for individuals and families who meet the HOME-ARP definition for the qualifying populations. The project is located at 1015 and 1019 Pinehurst Street. The project will be within a quarter mile of the GLTC bus line, a half a mile of a shopping center with a grocery store, and 3/4 of a mile of a pharmacy. Rush Homes plans to have all funding sources confirmed and complete the pre-development by December of this year. Construction should begin in the spring of 2025 and leasing of the units by December of 2025. Here you can see an aerial view of Carolyn's Place and the design of the units. The cost of the project is estimated to be at $2,376,675 with resources from the City HOME-ARP funds, Central Virginia Planning District Commission, Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, known as DHCD, HOME-ARP funds, and the Virginia Housing Trust Fund. This project was developed in consultation with the Central Virginia Continuum of Care, a major partner. The CVCOC consists of community service and housing providers who serve the homeless population. Partners from within the CVCOC include Miriam's House, Horizon Behavioral Health, and Lynchburg Redevelopment and Housing Authority, who will provide referrals, supportive services, and project-based vouchers. There was a public notice advertising this public hearing on September 6th.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. I'm Tracy Balla. I'm Executive Director for Rush Homes, and I'm just going to employ Melva because she did a phenomenal job of telling you everything that I have written here on this paper. You already know that the funds will be used to build 8 permanent supportive housing units. Those 8 are part of the 48 that I came before you just a couple of months ago and asked that Carolyn's Place will be is 48. And I just want it to be known that the city's willingness to invest these funds demonstrates that strong commitment that you all have to affordable housing, to addressing the need that we have in our community. And that is positively received by the donors and the funding agencies, which honestly makes my job easier as I go ahead and I submit other funding applications. They see the investment that the city council and the city is making in their own community, and they want to partner with us. And so we will be working with DHCD and Virginia Housing, which is pretty typical with the funding agencies that we have worked with in the past. Everything else, like I said, Ms. Walker did a phenomenal job of already presenting for me. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Is any of the space going to be available for veterans?
Yes. That is part of the qualifying population.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. My name is Sarah Quarantoto. I'm here as the Executive Director of Miriam's House. And as Melva mentioned, Miriam's House is the lead agency for the Central Virginia Continuum of Care. So this plan to dedicate these funds to building affordable housing for households experiencing homelessness, of course, was in consultation with the entire continuum of care, all of our partners working with those experiencing homelessness. Really this was viewed as the solution to help get more folks, especially our vulnerable folks, those who have had long episodes of homelessness, who really without all these wraparound services, the dedicated housing units and the rental subsidy through Lynchburg Redevelopment and Housing Authority probably would remain homeless in our community. And so permanent supportive housing is a best practice model. You all are familiar with that. And Rush has been a really great partner in providing that intervention at their Old Forest Village apartments, also at their Florida Terrace apartments. So we, as a COC, feel really strongly that they're going to do a phenomenal job with these 8 units. And this means that for the next 15 years, which is the period of time that PSH will have to be provided, just many, many individuals will be able to exit homelessness, move into stable housing, and get back on their feet. So we are thrilled about this proposal and this project, and of course, ask that you support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Any voicemails?
There are none.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. The matter rests with council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Taylor?
Yeah, all these issues came up before council before and in the CDAC, and we approved these items. So I move that we vote on these and let these people take care of the business that they need to take care of.
Well said. Dr. Wilder?
It is another great, amazing project. Just to see how our community works together to support homelessness and affordable housing. I mean, rent now is over $1,000 a month, so that increases the number of persons homeless. So again, just to see this come forth and to look at the work done at Florida Terrace, I just encourage you to drive down Florida Terrace. It is such a beautiful complex. So to see a person who was homeless or substandard living go to a beautiful, brand new apartment of that nature or a townhouse of that nature is such a blessing. So we appreciate all the nonprofits working together, and also not just the funds from CDBG, but bringing in other funds to our community. And that's how we make all these things work. So thank you for your support for our community, the homeless population. Thank you.
I agree. I was going to say that the beauty of these facilities, I think, is undervalued in the fact that it just shows the dignity that that is given to these people that have fallen on hard times. I think when they're shown that dignity, it encourages them. And, as the other services that we offer them to help them kind of get headed in the right direction, it just changes everything. Just that little bit of encouragement of just showing, hey, we're giving you a dignified living experience. And so everything that y'all are doing is just, all those little touches matter so much. So thank you, really. I think it's just wonderful to see. Appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Helgeson, go ahead.
This was for Mr. Martin, actually. So I know we're approving the funding, but I got a zoning question. I mean, so we're looking at, high density or apartments basically on these two parcels. And we're looking at just the funding, but is it able to be built just, obviously we don't have site plans or any of that kind of stuff on this property?
Sure. So the rezoning and public hearings came before council previously.
Okay.
And for Carolyn's Place, so it would be 2 phases, 48 units total, I believe. The second phase would be the majority of those units, and this is for the first phase.
Gotcha. And so so the zoning is
in place.
Good
We
deal. Thank you.
just need to do site plans. Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, now we can vote.
The motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2025 adopted budget to align city council salaries with the requirements of Lynchburg City Code Section 2-16.1, which is option A, or consideration of adopting an ordinance amending Lynchburg City Code Section 2-16.1 to align the codified city council salary amounts with present city payments and practices, option B. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Donna Witt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This came to you in a business item briefing last council meeting, and it was part of our first and fourth quarter adjustments. And with by council approval, it was suggested that it should come back as a separate item with 2 options. So before you do have an option to adopt a resolution that would amend the budget and appropriate the $30,142 and bring council salaries in line with the city code. It's section 2-16.1, or to there is an option to adopt an ordinance that would put the code back to the salaries of the current council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of either option?
Hello, Kimberly Dyke Arsley, City of Lynchburg. So I saw that the state passed the law. Work is work. Speaking for myself, I think I'll agree for the increase with the contingency. Like every other job, that job performance improves and increases for the residents of this locality, whether it be in increments whether it's based on performance. I don't know how the other things work, but with that contingency, et cetera, I'll approve of the increase.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in favor of either option?
Michael Bremer, resident of Ward 4. I think people should be paid for their work and paid reasonably. But at the same time, earlier today, we heard that the city is short $43,000 to demolish 2 buildings that really need to be demolished. One of them, as Councilman Mischins pointed out, may have insurance concerns, but the other building is falling down. And we heard from Mr. Martin that the city doesn't have the money to take care of this. I think that's pretty appalling that $43,000 is lacking to take down 2 buildings that are clearly a public safety issue and hazard. Given that, I don't know how you could vote yourself a raise at this time when $43,000 is all that's needed to take down 2 very clearly public safety hazards. So I urge you to vote for option B and postpone a raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this issue in favor of either option? Or I guess in favor of one or opposing the other, however you want to look at it. Okay, any opposition? Either side. Okay, any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed and the matter rests with council. May I have a motion? Oh, yeah, Councilman Hutchinson?
I'll make a motion for option A.
Okay, do I have a second? Do I have a second on option A, which is consideration of introducing a resolution amending fiscal year 2025 adopted budget to align city council salaries with the requirements of the current city code section 2-16.1.
We'll go ahead and second it so it doesn't die.
Okay, Councilman Hutchinson?
Thank you. You know, with this, it's always difficult to talk about council pay, but over the years, over decades actually, I've tried to recruit people to run. And people said, oh my goodness, I'm not going to put up the headache for $10,000. They said, look, there's no benefits, there's no nothing. You have to run for office, you have to serve in office. And every decision that we make, absent renaming a bridge after, you know, our beautiful 3rd grade school teacher, there's controversy. Some people are for it, some people are against it. And so when you make a tough decision, it's a hard thing to do where you can't make everybody happy. And with that, lots of people said, I'm not going to run. And quite frankly, some of the people even more recently said, you know, when council is now attacking members of council, calling them out on different things and censuring and doing all this silliness, they said, I wouldn't do it for 100,000. You know, and so with this, I'm glad I can objectively vote on this because I'm leaving. This isn't affecting me. But let me tell you, for people who are up here that are working hard to make good decisions about a budget that's over $350 million. I mean, you got people up here that are working hard. And, you know, I know somebody's going to probably, you know, try to gaslight and say, oh, I'm not doing that because it's such and such. And I get it. And I get to objectively talk about this because I recognize that the Bible says the workman is worthy of his hire. And so when somebody is looking at somebody else coming in, would you do it for $10,000 a year? Would you do all the meetings? Would you do all the things? A lot of people wouldn't. And that's why lots of times people wouldn't run because they would lose half of their business because if they got to make a decision and vote on something that makes half of the community mad or half of the community happy, it's just they'd rather run their business. And so lots of people haven't run for that perspective. And now looking at this, I know you can look at percentages. I teach finance, so the percentage looks, it's a 40% increase. You're going from $10,000 a year to $14,000 a year. Now, is it an increase? Absolutely. But was it actually approved 4 or 5 years ago? And should it have been there? I think Ms. Witt has in here, it was approved like in 2019 or something, quite a long time ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And it's now, council said, hey, for the year when the pandemic hit, lots of uncertainty, said, let's put that on hold for a year. And it's now come up because of the fact that folks who ran in a primary, whether Republican or Democrat primary, our treasurer said, here's what the thing is. You got to pay a fee of 2% of the salary. 2% of 10,000 is $200. He had a bill of $280. And it's like, well, wait a minute. And he said, well, that's what the code says. That's what the city code says, that's what the pay should be. With this, it's going back to what it should have been 4 or 5 years ago. Quite frankly, as Kimberly Dyke Horsley said a minute ago, some of these places, because of the state law changed, they've increased the pay going from where we're up to now, 14,000, going up to 50 or 35 or 60. I think we're probably one of the lowest paid in cities, probably in the whole Commonwealth of Virginia. And so with that, again, nobody's up here, I don't think, is doing it for the pay. Obviously, they wouldn't be doing it because they were at 10,000. With that, do I think they deserve it? Even if I disagree wholeheartedly on policies or things that they say, I think they should do it because of the fact that people are taking effort and people are actually working and people are actually trying to make the lives of our citizens better. They're spending lots of time on the issues. They're going to ribbon cuttings and events. Again, it's a no fun thing. People are saying, oh my gosh, I'm voting for my increase. That's why this has an increase. It's been the same. I believe it's been close to the same as when I first started in 2004. I think everybody is familiar with inflation. Maybe not, but anybody who's bought anything at the grocery store recognizes the inflation that is ridiculous. The funds are there. This is a fourth quarter adjustment. This is the actual resources that are there. I believe you had in there, Ms. Witt, in the fourth quarter adjustments, where there's lots of things. I think the total of the whole fourth quarter adjustments, what is it? 30?
It was in the first quarter adjustment.
The first quarter, what was the total?
30,000.
No, I mean, what was the total of the whole adjustments?
First quarter adjustments was 5.5 million.
5.5 million, of which it's, we're looking at 30,000. And so with that, again, I may disagree on policy, I may vote differently with everybody up here, but I do believe that they're working hard and it's not just for them. This is about the future too. I mean, you got an election coming up. It's happening right now. Folks are going to be voted in and out of office coming up within about 6 weeks. That's for the new council as well. So I know it's a difficult vote, and I know some are going to maybe gaslight or grandstand or whatever, hopefully not, because I do think each one of you are worth a lot more than this, but I think that is, hopefully you'll approve it.
Councilman Jones?
Got one, maybe two, but one question about this resolution. So the way I'm reading this, it says for the purpose of prospectively adjusting council member salaries to be consistent with the code. That means that it's adjusting it in the future, correct? There's no back pay involved in this?
That's correct. It originally was designed to be effective in July 1, 2024, but we had changed that.
Got it. So we got that fixed. So we're looking at moving, going forward. And then just to also clarify, the other alternative, option B, to vote in favor of option B would actually be to vote for basically reducing your salary against what the code says it should be right now.
It would be,
the code says what the salary is, and the option B is actually basically voting to say your salary should be less.
it would be equalizing to the current practice.
To the current, but it's still a reduction.
Yes, to what
What
to
the
numbers in
code says. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those are the only two questions I had. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Taylor?
Ms. Witt. With the first quarter adjustments, if we allow this to pass, will we have enough in the first quarter adjustments to give Tom what he needs to do his demolition?
If council should adopt that, we could find the money.
Because we don't want anybody short. Thank you.
Oh, where would that come from exactly, Ms. Witt?
Mayor, if I could, I think just, and again, stepping very carefully on whatever, I think what Tom put forward in his earlier presentation was annually, we have 17 departments, 26 with Kith and Ken, and there's those, I think, oh, great. Might have to buy a chair. In putting forward what we would, what our budgets walk back to as far as valuations, what we talked about was increasing from $15,000 to $100,000 in demolition, right? And so this isn't Tom's overall community development budget going down or not having resources. It's just in that line item that's earmarked that we proposed as a budgetary item for demolition. So not a different color of money, but a different line item, if you will. What I heard from council is an interest in finding ways in which to see whether or not there are other resources, and make no bones, it may be resources from another place or another location to meet that need. And that would be something that we would talk to you about. But as for capacity, I don't want the two to be separate from each other, or that one happens and the other doesn't. I think what
Correct.
Donna is explaining is that there's capacity. It's just, I wanted to understand that we've only earmarked 100,000 for demolition. So that would go above what we have. Did I do okay with that? So,
Yep,
there we go.
we're good.
Councilman Hutchinson, did you have a comment?
Well, I guess, with the different terminology, I guess option A, the amount would be, maybe if it's not because it's not a whole year. So I think you're looking at, since it's prospectively then not, because basically if you're adding 4,000 for 7 people, that's 28,000 a year. And if you're doing it not for the whole year, it should be. Yeah, and, okay.
So it would be for the whole year. So it would be a little bit less.
A little less since it's not the whole year,
Since we're not backdating it.
unless you did it for the whole year, but the word was changed from prospectively or just beginning January or July 1st for the year. Yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
Council missions?
I just got a question about what you just said about the pops and where it may come from. Are we managing any vacancies right now?
We have vacancies, I don't know what they are.
Okay.
Keep in mind,
I was
we planned for $2 million of managed vacancies in the budget already.
Yeah.
So until we hit that number, which we will not have at this point,
Then you're not touching it.
then there's no additional funding available
Got it.
through managed vacancies.
Anybody else? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
All right, initiating the vote to approve option A. The motion failed 3-3-0.
Okay, with that said, Mr. Friedman, what do we do from here?
So council has the option of considering option B if it so chose. But it could be that council again results in a tie if council members keep the same position that they've currently taken on option A. What council could do, given we're at an even number versus a full board, is table the matter to be heard at the next meeting and reconsider the issues, which would probably be appropriate since we're missing Councilman Dolan.
Vice Mayor Frawley?
A motion to approve option B.
Okay, do I have a second? For option B? Is there a second for option B? I'll second option B.
And Madam Mayor, just as a point of clarification on option B, there is a scrivener's error previously before number 1, right above it. It should state, be it ordained by the council of the city of Lynchburg, Virginia. So I would just ask the record reflect that and the motion, keep that as part of the ordinance.
Okay. Vice Mayor Frawley?
Just simply put, this would effectively keep our salaries as been accustomed, at least as long as I've been on council. And it's for that reason I fundamentally believe that we should not be in a position to vote ourselves a 40% pay increase. And for that reason, I'll be voting in favor of option B.
My reason for supporting this option is really just because while it may seem menial to other people, I just know there's a lot of areas that this money could also go to. And so I just am supporting us just aligning the current pay and changing the ordinance to line up with that. So, Councilman Missions?
Just knocking my glasses off. I'm going to do a substitute motion to strike 12,000 for the mayor's pay and align that to the same pay as 10,000 for the rest of the council members.
Do I have a second on that?
That's a friendly amendment.
This is a substitute motion.
So take $12,000 away from the mayor's pay?
No, to reduce the mayor's pay from 12,000 to 10,000 to align it with the rest of the council members.
Mr. Friedman, is that allowed to be done without a change? Like, is that something that can be done here?
So I think I would have to look at our charter. And I guess what I would suggest is if there is a second to that motion, that the motion be tabled to be considered at the next meeting or until I can look into the matter.
Okay.
Point of order.
Yes.
Since the public hearing was shared for the specific role of council members and not the mayorship, would it not be improper to consider anything but a member of council?
So the mayor, in my opinion, is a member of council.
But it is a separate office.
It would be a separate office, but I don't think the fact that it was submitted to public hearing would prevent, if the charter doesn't provide for a higher salary for the mayor, that could be considered. So that's why I guess what I would ask of council is if there is a second on that motion, it could be that we just table all of these matters to be heard at the next meeting.
I'll second.
Okay. Speak to your substitute, your motion.
Just as the city attorney just said, the mayor is a member of city council. I think that it would be appropriate to align the mayor's pay. If we're going to be voting to reduce all of city council's pay, then we should align the mayor's pay with all of city council.
Okay. Councilman Hugginson?
I do believe that it wouldn't be a bad idea to actually, as was stated as far as our procedures, to actually table this then, but I'll be happy to vote for this. Because quite frankly, you could actually keep on going down. Go down to zero, for crying out loud, and or donate your money or force your donation.
Okay. Vice Mayor Frawley?
Can I get a point of clarification? How much is a council member paid right now?
How much is the what?
How much is a council member paid right now?
10,000.
And if we're paid 10,000 right now, and we vote for option B, what would the pay continue to be?
$10,000.
So we're not reducing our own compensation. Is that the word I would use? Compensation, not necessarily our salary, which is outlined in state code, but there's discrepancy there because of how much we've been paid. So I'll say our compensation would stay the same. Thank you.
I guess the clarification though is that we're changing the city code. So if option B is actually changing what the city code says. So if we're changing what the city code says, we can change any words on what the city code says if we would so choose, within reason, of course. And so with that, I think that's why this motion is changing. Your motion was to change the adopted city code 2-16.1 to change that. And when you're changing that, just like when you change or open the charter, it's open. You can change other things in that charter. So we're talking about changing section 2-16.1. So if you're changing it, I think this should be in order, unless you would like to table this till there is a full body present.
No, let's vote.
Okay.
Go ahead. So let's vote on lowering the mayor's pay. Go ahead.
The motion fails, 2-4.
All right, so let's go back to the motion of B that's on the floor now. So, which would just be aligning the current pay of all council members and mayor moving forward to align, to make the ordinance now change to line up with the current pay structure. Any comments on that? Dr. Wilder?
Yes, I prefer to wait until we have a full board. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
So for point of clarification then, so if, in order to do that, since the motion on the table is option B, if a majority votes no, or even an even amount votes no, we keep on voting unless a majority votes no, and then it'll be brought back forward, like you suggest, next meeting.
Well, I was assuming what we said earlier, we would just wait till Councilman Dolan was back in town.
But I think, yeah, I agree.
I said no.
I agree, but there is a motion on the table.
Yes.
On the floor.
Yes.
So I think a no vote maybe is in order. You want to clarify that?
I don't think that would be.
Not in order, but a no vote would then have no decision. Well, we voted down option A and we voted down option B, which then we would have the next motion to table until next meeting.
Dr. Wilder, would you like to make a friendly amendment
Well,
to table?
I'm asking, let me finish my question.
So the first motion wasn't voted down. It simply failed for lack of a majority.
Got it.
So the reason I had suggested tabling both of them is
Yep.
because I assumed with that first result, the second would have also resulted in a tie vote. So with that said, certainly the motion on the table could be a friendly amendment or changed or just by consensus to continuing both options again to be heard when we have a full board.
And so that means they would withdraw the motion on the floor? And there is a motion on the floor.
You could, you could do it that way, or you could simply do it by consensus if you all agree just to move it to the next meeting and then start again at anew.
Vice Mayor Pearlby, would you like? We'll go ahead and call the vote.
All right, initiate the vote for option B.
Can you recast that, please?
Oh, yes. We have request to request.
Recast it.
Yep.
So now make your motion for tabling.
I'm
I'll second.
reinitiating at the vice
No, we
mayor's
have to
request
Revote.
to adopt option B.
Madam Clerk, what was the purpose of revoting?
There was a request at the vice mayor.
Okay.
No.
Do we just? Is
Well-
there, we don't just revote, is there usually,
Okay, moving on to,
just point of order, is there usually, I mean, I've never been here for 20 years, I don't know if we've ever just revoted, just for, is there a reason you'd like to share of why, which would be appreciated?
I wanted to make sure I voted the correct way.
Okay, got you, thank you.
okay, moving on. Consideration of adopting a resolution accepting the return of real estate in Lynchburg City Schools specific to Perrymont Elementary School.
So before we get to that, Madam Mayor, if I could make a motion to table, right, since no action took place?
Well, it looks like that option B was voted down
Okay,
by a
gotcha.
majority. So option A,
Will have to be something that we bring up another time.
They both failed.
We remain out of compliance with city code.
council should want to consider how to reconcile a change in, I guess, what we're doing in practice in the budget versus what's in the code. So certainly because we voted down now option B, I think it would be prudent for what it might be worth with a full board to consider option A at the next meeting.
So do you need a motion for that?
Yes.
A motion that we table the conversation until we have a full council.
Second.
Okay, speak to your motion.
Just, I think for something of this nature, I think it's important for all of us to participate in that conversation. I'd like to hear what Councilman Dolan has to say as well. Thank you.
Okay, council missions?
No further.
All right, just do a voice vote then. Or just do, Vice Mayor Farley.
So you just had an act of council to vote against something, correct?
That's correct.
So what are the requirements to reintroduce that particular item?
Option B, for that to come back, a person voting against it would have to reinitiate it.
Thank you.
And before council votes, what I would offer for this is, the reason I had suggested option A come back is because the practice of what we're doing in the budget doesn't align with city code. That's all I can offer. So certainly how you all want to proceed, I'll leave that to you all.
Voice vote?
So the motion is to table
Until
October 8th.
till our next meeting. Can I call the vote now?
Are you speaking? Dave, you spoke? Okay. Oh,
Yes.
did you? In the second, okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Dolan.
I'll just go, I didn't think they spoke, so I was ready to vote on this today. That's why I talked about it, but I'm happy to table it for another 2
All right,
weeks if that's.
thank you, Alicia.
All right, I'll initiate the vote to table.
Which one am I going to hit?
The motion passes.
Okay, consideration of adopting a resolution accepting the return of real estate from Lynchburg City Schools specific to Perrymont Elementary School, and consideration of adopting a resolution dedicating real estate known as 500 Sandusky Drive and part of 409 Perrymont Avenue as open space land pursuant to the Virginia Open Space Land Act. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Mr. Wyatt Woody.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. So the Perrymont Park open space dedication, we brought this to you at the business item briefing on September 10th. The purpose of this is to receive a grant funding from the Virginia Outdoor Foundation of $169,000 and the Department of Conservation and Recreation for $153,000 for park improvements. The grant funding would be used to develop the quarter-mile walking loop called the Panther Path, nature paths, picnic area, fenced-off leash area, drainage improvements, and an outdoor classroom. Perrymont Park improvements were supported by the master plans and comprehensive plans. No matching city funding is required. It received a large positive public feedback. So the open space dedication required for the grant. So open space easements are designed to preserve lands for public purposes that benefit by remaining largely undeveloped, such as parks, woodlands, stormwater management. The property that would be placed in the easement has an extremely low development potential due to steep slopes, poor soils, and public infrastructure. Council has taken similar action for park improvements in the Tin Bridge Hill neighborhood and at Jefferson Park in Darrington neighborhood. So again, prior action, September 10th, the first reading for acceptance and appropriation of the grants. Next steps would be September 24th. Today, the public hearing, the acceptance of the property transfer from the Lynchburg City Schools, dedication of open space easement for part of the property. And also later this meeting, the general business would be the second reading for acceptance and appropriation of the grants.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay, public hearing is closed. The matter rests with council. May I have a motion on the return of real estate resolution?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Vice Mayor Foldy?
It's a great addition. I'm looking forward to having it, especially in Ward 4. And I can tell you that the residents in the Perrymont area are going to enjoy this asset.
Great. Council missions?
Nothing to add. It's a good decision. It's the right decision.
Any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Approve the resolution on the return of real estate. The motion passes 6-0.
May I have a motion on the open space land resolution?
So moved.
Council missions?
Nothing further.
Vice Mayor? Any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
All right, initiating the vote on the open space land resolution. The motion passes 6-0.
Okay.
Everything should Parks and Rec.
Okay, the next section is public comment. Council members, I did forget at the beginning of the meeting to add or to ask for an addition. We did receive an email from a citizen, Mr. Mike Troxel, to ask to be added to public comment tonight. He is here. Do I have a vote of consensus to add him to the bottom of public comment? Is that okay with y'all?
Yes. I wanted to speak to the hunting.
He wanted to speak to the hunting issue that we spoke about last time.
It's just a quick question. Alicia, you sent an email that there was somebody else that actually sent it in at time, but
Yeah, she's not here.
is she present?
No, she's not here. I don't see her.
No, I mean, I'm absolutely favorable. We'll hear what he has to say about any adjustments we need to make to what's coming ahead.
Okay, Mr. Troxel will add you to the end, okay? Thank you. Thank you, council. Okay, what?
Actually, put him before Gary.
Oh, okay, no, we'll add him,
Second one.
yeah, second to last. Sorry. All right, thank you. Okay, the next section is public comment. During the public comment, individual speakers have 3 minutes to speak, and those representing a group have 5 minutes to speak. Typically, City Council takes comments made during the public comment section of the agenda under advisement and may refer comments to the city manager for follow-up. Citizens often express conflicting and diverse positions regarding specific issues under consideration. To encourage citizen participation and to avoid intimidation to persons who may express sometimes unpopular opinions, applause, cheers, or jeers from the audience are not permitted. When appearing before City Council, citizens may not engage in behavior that intimidates or insults others, engage in disruptive behavior, use profanity or vulgar language, promote private business ventures, or campaign for office. We will now hear from a citizen regarding community safety, advocating for opioid crisis solutions. William Rice, please restate your name and locality of residence. Okay, does not appear he's here. Moving on, we will now hear from a group representative regarding city towing contract, Matthew Cash from Cash's Garage. Please restate your name, or group representative, and locality of residence.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Current resident of Amherst County. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. So as y'all know, the City Towing Board is up for re-election or for to be approved to whoever's going to get it. It actually was supposed to be done May of 2023. I'm not sure why we have not got this resolved yet. I've been on the phone trying to get this resolved and it's not happened. My company is a third generation company in Madison Heights. We are the oldest towing company in Central Virginia or Lynchburg. We've been in business for 67 years. We have 3 locations. We have one in Lynchburg. We actually bought a property in Lynchburg just for this. We're the only one to actually have a storage facility in Lynchburg for this towing contract. And we've been, like I said, I've been on the phone with them for over a year to try to get this brought before you. And now we're just now seeing it in this September of 2024. I would just like for you guys to consider us to be an option. All right, thank you.
Okay, next we'll hear from a group representative regarding city towing contract, Kevin Jones from Beeline Transport. Please restate your name, group representative, and locality of residence.
Good evening, City Council members and citizens. I appreciate this opportunity to speak on public record regarding the towing contract. My name is Kevin Jones, and I am the owner of Beeline Transport. Since my inception, I was committed to professionalism, in which I am proud to stand here today and say, after 26 years and 32 employees later, we have stayed true to my slogan, where professionalism is a must. I proposed the same commitment here in the same spot to the city of Lynchburg around 15 years ago. Customer satisfaction is our #1 priority. The professionalism and commitment start with the customer service provided by our logistics dispatchers in the office with state-of-the-art software, including tracking systems on each unit. We can ensure very few errors from our tow truck operators, equipment haulers, mechanics, and road service trucks, in which everyone receives top-notch training provided by our industry. We strive every day on every call to provide the highest level of safety and professionalism by providing the operators with the latest equipment, professional uniforms, quarterly safety meetings, and maintaining a drug and alcohol-free workplace. I have and will always hold my employees to a very high standard. I am confident the Beeline operators will always be as professional on the scene as your local police, fire, rescue, first responders. Last year, we serviced 8,289 calls and around 5,530 so far this year. Beeline Transport is equipped to handle any situation. The main goal is to safely accomplish the task in a timely manner that is satisfactory to the customer or first responders on site. All operators live in a close proximity to the city of Lynchburg, which makes response times generally 15 minutes or less. The decision regarding the city of Lynchburg towing contract is very important because there's much more involved than just towing vehicles. Yes, we need to be available 24/7, but we also need to properly assist with vehicles from crime scenes, move equipment for fleet services, haul $1.5 million fire trucks, inclement weather emergencies, provide vehicles for city training, and other services needed by the Lynchburg Police Department. The track record that Beeline Transport has with all departments inside of the city of Lynchburg speaks for itself. We work hand in hand with these departments to accomplish success each day. I want to express my deepest gratitude for all the past opportunities and reiterate that we're steadily growing, and I'm 100% confident that we are capable of continuing this relationship in the years to come. It is our livelihood to serve, and we hope that you will consider Beeline Transport. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. I don't see Mr. Separati. So we move on to Mr. Troxel. please introduce yourself and your locality of residence.
Absolutely. Mike Troxel, live in Lynchburg City. I run a Facebook group that has 75 plus bow hunters and landowners in it in Lynchburg City. I've been bow hunting the city for over 15 years and taken between 65, 70 deer with my bow. I'm very appreciative of the fact that City Council is making some changes to the bow hunting ordinances. I love the fact that they are lowering the height requirement to 10 feet. I would love to see it go to 8 feet, because then you could shoot off of a standard deck, and that would massively increase the amount of properties available. Currently, if there's not a tree, you can't hunt the property. One of the other issues that comes up is mobility issues. Folks who might be veterans with some mobility issues might not be able to get in a tree, but they could shoot off of a deck. And if the deer problem is as bad as it is, and we know it is, I would love to be able to see that made an option so that folks like veterans with some mobility issues would be able to be involved in that. One of the other things that I would like to see happen is our permits go from 1 year to 2 years. That would cut in half the amount of legwork that we have to do, that our landowners have to do, and that Chief Animal Warden Ball has to do in terms of getting permits issued and things like that. One other addition that we would like to see done is for us to be able to take coyotes on the bow permits. Currently, we are restricted to deer only, which means if we see a coyote, of which there are many, in a neighborhood where we know kids play, we see pets out in their yards, we are not able to legally take care of that coyote. Thanks to Mr. Helgeson, people are now able to shoot air rifles in the city as of a couple years ago. And there are some very large caliber air rifles, which means if you were standing on flat ground, you can take care of that coyote with that air rifle. But we, from an elevated position on a property that has already been deemed to be safe by the police department, are not able to take that coyote with a bow. And that's something I would like to see taken care of. Every single one of us who are hunting the city have already passed a hunter safety course, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't add coyotes to the ordinance, to the bow permits, to be able to take care of what is an invasive predatory species here on the East Coast. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll hear from a group representative regarding federal, state, and local 2024 elections. Mr. Gary Taylor from Citizens for a Better Lynchburg. Please restate your name, group represented, and locality of residence.
That's one for you, one for Ms. Patrick, and one for Mr. Friedman. Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good to see you again, 2 nights in a row. Mr. Vice Mayor, members of City Council. My name is Gary Taylor, and I am the founder and president of a bipartisan group called Citizens for a Better Lynchburg, and I currently reside in Good, Virginia, after residing in Lynchburg's Ward 4, the Windhurst area, for 6 years as the unofficial mayor of Windhurst, elected by the Liberty students. So I was going to do federal, state, and local, but that would require talking about Donald Trump, and we don't have all week. So I'm just going to state and local. Bob Good versus John McGuire. This was singularly the most important and consequential Republican primary in District 5 history, along with the most expensive. This election came down to Donald Trump, Kevin McCarthy, Glenn Youngkin, and Gary Taylor against Bob Good, Ron DeSantis, Chip Roy, Matt Gaetz, and Jeff Helgeson. This election was big tent versus small tent. This election was centrist versus extremist. This election was inclusion versus division. This election was about unity versus hate. This election was about a seat at the table versus no seat at the table. And what only happened? We only won by 370 votes. And that's with $7 million from Kevin McCarthy. What that tells you is the grip that this extremist group had over weak Republicans in this area. Satan and his minions are powerful and deceitful over sheeple. Thank God for the lions. John McGuire against Gloria Witt. Now,
is that you can't be campaigning for office, and there is somebody that is, two people that he just mentioned are on the ballot today as we speak, and on the ballot in November. So,
my time's done.
Madam Mayor, I'm not hearing campaigning for a particular group or individual. I certainly think a citizen speaker could express concerns or thoughts regarding candidates running for office, but it doesn't sound like he's advocating for or against any particular person to me.
Go ahead.
So on paper, in the voter makeup of D5, this is a runaway victory for John McGuire. But this is not Gloria Witt versus John McGuire. This is Gloria Witt and Bob Good against John McGuire. And I'm not going to go into all the details. I'll hold it up here. Anybody can see right here. Page B3, the news and advance, local and state section. Gloria Witt says she has a secret to turn Virginia D5 district blue. I would just suggest anybody that cares anything about District 5 and politics, just read this article. It's a perfectly written article that just states the facts. So that's all I want to say about at the state level. Ward 1, Lynchburg City Council. To me, Ms. Timmer seems to have the lead. Apparently, the independent is in place to try to glean off votes of her. Randy Smith, the Democrat, from what I heard of his interview on WLNI, he's basically the candidate that I really don't know much about politics, but look how bad the other side is. So please vote for all four of us. So my suggestion would be, once I found out who his wife is that he says, do you know who my wife is? Who his wife is very involved and helps all of Lynchburg. And also she's a Hokie. So.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I don't believe that council chambers is a platform for people to attack other members of the city or citizens to push for anything, either side, either party. It doesn't matter. That is not what this lectern is for, and I do not think this is appropriate.
Mr. Taylor, keep going.
Can continue? Okay. But in all seriousness, Ms. Timmer did put out there something about having an elected mayor and stuff. That's not the answer for this circus. But what I would say, if she does get elected, to be the advocate for an elected school board. That would be a wonderful thing. 120 out of 133 localities in the state of Virginia have it. It's a no-brainer. So let's put in elected school boards, not worry about the mayor situation. There's cost involved with all that. Ward 2, look forward to working with Dr. Sterling Wilder on the next council. Ward 3 is the most consequential and important ward election in decades, maybe history. This is exactly the same Senator McGuire faced. This will be the most negative, hateful, racist, misinformation campaign in Ward 3 history. Character assassination and lies will run rampant. The question will be for Republicans, are you going to drink the Kool-Aid of lies and hate? Or for the first time in many decades, will Ward 3 elect a person on council who is for all council? Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, moving on to general business. The next section is general business. This section includes general items of new business. Consideration of adopting resolution R2463 and amending the fiscal year 2025 city, federal, state aid fund budget and appropriating $322,000 from the Virginia Outdoor Foundation and Department of Conservation and Recreation grants for Perrymont Park improvements. This is the second reading of this item. May I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor Walden. Really? Dr. Wilder?
No other comments. Glad to see the area get the park they deserve.
Any other discussion for anyone? No? Okay, let's vote.
All right, initiating the vote to adopt the resolution. The motion passes 6-0.
Okay, consideration of adopting an ordinance amending Lynchburg City Code Section 27-67.3 to decrease the elevated height requirements for bow hunting of deer, allow bow hunting of deer on city-owned property, and make technical changes. This item was presented to council during our business item briefings on September 10th, 2024. May I have a motion? Vice Mayor Giraldi, do I have a second?
I haven't made a motion yet, but I
Oh,
will.
sorry.
I move for approval with the following changes: 8 feet, 2-year cycle, and the ability to take coyotes.
Second.
Okay, so adjust it to 8 feet height requirement and adding coyotes.
2-year cycle for permitting and the ability to take coyotes.
And I'll second that.
And I think the attorney would like to make a comment.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
There's one comment to add to that. There is, this is the other ordinance I noticed where there was a scrivener's error. Immediately above number 1, it should state, be it ordained by the council, by the council of the city of Lynchburg, Virginia.
Okay. Do you have that, Madam Clerk? Okay.
Can we add that to your motion?
I would see that as technical, so as long as it's.
As long as there's consensus, it can be there. I think that's fine.
Okay, does everybody understand the changes? So I don't have to say it all out loud again. The 8 feet and then the coyotes understood.
8-foot coyotes and
2-year cycle.
2-year cycle.
2-year cycle. Okay, Vice Mayor?
Defer to the city manager. I think he would like to say something.
Oh, hi.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the city council. I've never bow hunted, never done it, grew up on the water. So I rely heavily on Officer Ball and Chief Sudema, both of whom could not be here this evening. I sent the ordinance with what we talked about last time in our recommendations and where we were, and asked that if there were any questions, and I know that some of us were traveling and what have you, ahead of this meeting, or if there were any subsequent changes that we would, those would be sent or talked through ahead of this evening. I'm in no place or prepared to talk about. I know that just as I recall the presentation, I think he showed on parity the most everyone was at 10 feet. I think Martinsville was at 7. Again, I heard the gentleman, and it was persuasive as it relates to a certain population and their ability to access something at 10 feet. The coyote piece, I deferred to Officer Ball. And then whether or not it helps or hinders us on moving to a 2-year cycle, I can't speak to. And so in some of all this could all be very reasonable and amenable. Again, I think I started out with probably the most important thing, which is I've never bow hunted. And I have Deputy Chief Jerry here, and I don't know whether or not Jerry's bow hunted, but I know that he isn't necessarily the font that maybe Officer Ball has been in this instance. So with all that to say, we will heed what council has to say, but I'm in no place or prepared unless the Deputy Chief is to speak to the additions to the ordinance. Deputy Chief? If it's okay with Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, for him to come
That's
forward.
fine. The Vice Mayor can have a comment.
Yeah, the only other comment is I do recall when this was brought before us, maybe a month ago now, I don't remember quite.
It was the last meeting.
But I do recall bringing up the desire for including coyotes in this, the 8 feet. And I may not have specifically included the 2-year cycle, so I will admit to that one, but I do recall requesting that to be included in this, and it was not. So I would like to see it in there. I've received numerous calls of coyote concerns, especially in Ward 4. I want that to be addressed. If they have the property and the ability to handle it themselves, get after it. So that's my perspective. If council sees otherwise, I'm sure we can find a path forward here, but I do believe we have the processes in place to implement all 3 of these items, and they're reasonable, and it would afford more people the ability to not just hunt, but protect their own property.
Deputy Chief?
Yes, Council, Mayor, I appreciate you taking the opportunity to hear from me. I'm not a bow hunter either, but I did have the animal services under my command at one point, so I got a little familiar. Coyotes definitely are an issue there. I think Chief Warden Ball's issue with the coyotes related to, kind of it's a different animal than a deer, and the ability to be effective in addressing hunting that type of animal. We even get complaints about groundhogs. So, kind of where does this kind of all go sort of thing. I think the height restriction was based on kind of an assessment of what was common practice. And I don't know that he was particularly opposed to, again, he kind of assessed what was the most common practice. As you heard from his testimony or his information he provided you, the lowest was 7, and kind of the 12-foot was kind of the highest, and most common was a 10-foot. I mean, I don't think that is a bigger point of contention as the coyotes. As far as the 2-year cycle, I think the reason that we were doing the 1-year cycle is more to double check that there hasn't been any change in the property. As you recall, Chief Warden Ball had talked about, he reviewed GIS and Google Maps to make sure that, there was no change in the kind of property boundaries and so forth, so that we could remain compliant with the permit. Quite frankly, 2-year cycle is not going to be a difficulty for us. I don't see that would be particularly bothersome. The coyotes are a little different, and may need to talk to city manager a little further about that.
Madam Mayor, here's what I would offer back. First of all, I don't know if council's been introduced yet to our new deputy chief. So first, I did want to offer that if I can, but before it slips my brain, because I don't want to miss it. Insofar as a 2-year cycle, I think it's a very simple change. It's an internal policy that the city could adopt that essentially says if deputy chief sells his home and he's been authorized to bow hunt on his property, that license is automatically defunct once that thing. So that's a simple verbiage change that I'm sure our city attorney is equipped to implement. As far as the coyotes component, I hear you, but if the city is going to get into the business about what we can and cannot directly bow hunt in the city, then we need to get into the business of maybe, are we also implying that we should get into the business of training hunting and hunters in the city? We're not. If they're licensed by the state and authorized by the state to conduct hunting activities on property, then they should have the ability to do it. And especially in this capacity, I've had so many calls and so many texts and a number of emails, especially on coyotes. What was the other component? 10 feet versus 8 feet. It was mentioned that a number of other localities have different numbers. 8 seems more viable. And I can tell you my deck is not 8 feet. So, but with that being said, that would be my simple response, but welcome to Lynchburg.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just to clarify, I don't know that we have particular heartburn over the 8 feet versus 10 feet. I don't think we have particular heartburn. The chief would have any particular heartburn over the 2-year. Again, I think, sell the property, then the permit is no longer valid. Good points there. I don't think there's a particular issue there. Coyotes are a problem. Absolutely. We agree with you with that. So.
Can I just, anyone up here, I'm just going to open up the floor for someone. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I just want to ask you, Councilman Missions. I'm going to get to you. I'm not going to shut you down. But before I get to you, I would like to ask for clarification. Yes. Can someone up here, Councilman Heckelson, maybe because you're a hunter, Helgeson. Yes, I know. Pardon?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Mr. Troxel, would you come up here for a minute, please? Can you just, for Deputy Chief Stokes, just stay right there, please. Can you clarify with your experience, just for the public, what are the rules of the hunting right now, bow hunting, as far as what time of night you can start and what time of the morning you have to end? Just people that are unfamiliar with the boundaries of what we're doing.
Sure. Here. So let me start sort of at the beginning. So the landowner requests a permit from the city, Chief Animal Warden Ball then makes sure the property's safe. He issues the permit to the landowner. Hunters then have to have a copy of that permit along with written permission from the landowner. So if the landowner changes whatever permissions they had previously are no longer good, they have to then go get another permit with the new landowner's name and written permission. So from that standpoint, the permit would be good for 2 years or until the landowner changes. In terms of hunting, it just follows the normal state hunting regulations. So 30 minutes before, quote, sunrise so basically dawn till dusk, standard, Virginia state regulations for deer hunting. We have to tag everything. Fortunately in the city, there's no daily bag limit, which is nice. So if we can take 4 or 5 does in a day, as long as we have tags, we just keep going.
Thank you. My main emphasis was just that for people that are worrying that people are walking around the city with crossbows and arrows in the daylight, that this is a controlled time period. It's dark.
So it's not dark. It's during the daytime, but everything that we do is constrained to properties that the landowners have requested a permit. We have their permission.
So it is daytime? It's not dusk till dawn?
No. So we just follow standard state hunting regulations. So if you could hunt in the county, you can hunt in the city as well. But the city season, it falls under the state urban regulations, which runs from the first weekend in September through the last weekend in March, with the exception of Northern Virginia, which goes to the last weekend in April because they have, even more deer than we have here. So.
Got it.
So this is the sort of thing where a lot of us have been hunting the same properties for years. We even, several of us have groups of contiguous properties. A lot of us know the landowners that maybe we don't have permission to hunt their property, but they've given us permission to retrieve deer, that sort of thing. And so it's not like we're walking around, but we are on properties that we have permission. We're in the trees and all of that.
Okay.
So, yep.
Thank you very much.
Hope that answers
it
it.
did. Thank you. Council missions.
No, I think a lot of the changes are no-brainers. I know Mr. Trox has actually been to my house before, and with the 8-foot rule, we'd be able to do it off my deck. And that's pointing down into a creek, so it's even more topography going down. So, understanding effective ranges and maximum ranges of bows and backdrops, and you're from an elevated position, it's totally safe to do this. The properties that are going to get permitted aren't going to be unsafe to do this. If you're at an 8-foot elevated height, I've got no concern with that whatsoever. And we have a deer problem, and I like that we're having this conversation because hopefully other people are listening that have the abilities and the skills to do this safely, and that they'll apply, and that other properties will be able to do this so we can actually address this problem. And, I know particularly of a neighbor of mine that I'm very thankful for, who took the coyotes out and in our property, and it probably was not lawful in the way he did it. And now I'm pleased to be able to offer an opportunity that people can do this lawfully. So that's where I'm at with it. Happy to get this done.
Mr. Friedman, is there anything that we need to do before we vote, or can we vote on it as is?
So what I was going to ask council, if you all would permit, it sounds like I've got the direction I need. And if there was confusion before, I apologize for that. I would like to have an opportunity to word it the way you all want. So I would like to get with Officer Ball just to make sure that I have it where I need to have the proper seasons that are part of this, the coyotes in the right place, the two-year rules, and anything else that needs to be changed in there to align with what you all want. So there may be a few more changes that need to come with these additional changes, but I'm happy to do that. If you all would table it and let it come back at the next meeting, I'm happy to do that.
Yes.
So, thank you. Yeah, I don't think we need to table it. We're in the middle of bow hunting season now. Lots of these things I think are very good improvements. I know lots of people said they haven't bow hunted. I've bow hunted and shot dozens of deer with my bow. Hunted for years. With a bow, you have the broadhead that actually, the killing of the deer, somebody said in an email, the killing of the deer is a lot more efficient with the bow and with the broadhead with those blades than it is a muzzleloader. The only time I've ever lost a deer is I shot him with an old muzzleloader with an old ball. And it went through, the deer didn't die. The bow hunters normally are very safe because they're in an elevated position. And you think about the geography, or you think about a protractor, you think about geometry, going up the tree or up a tree stand or shooting from a deck, even at just a few feet, just from here. I think we mentioned this is probably 1.5 feet. Now compared to where you are, Mark, or where Mike is back there, you put me up a few more feet, I'm pretty good. I mean, I'm shooting down. You're normally shooting deer within 25 to maybe 35 yards. And so they're very close. We do have, as Councilman Mishron said, we have a deer problem. I have deer in my neighborhood, and I've been in my house over 20 years. I've never seen a deer up until this last year, and they're all the time. I'm thankful as well that we have on here the city property, because at the end of my street, I just talked to a guy down there who's got 2 small kids, and he said, man, I wish I could just go down across the street. I'm not going to tell you where it is because Mike will be there tomorrow. He said, I could go down there, and he said, there's a whole herd of them. And so he said, but I can't hunt on city property. And with this resolution, actually you can. I don't think we should table it because it is deer hunting season now. The deer are moving everywhere. It is surprising the amount of deer. You have Lyme's disease, you have deer wasting, chronic wasting disease, you have alpha-gal, you have all these diseases that have been happening because of the ticks on the deer. And, the alternative to having an 8-foot stand is releasing the mountain lions. and they're going to come and just wipe out the deer. And I don't think anybody wants that, So with that, I'm thankful that we have safe hunters that are willing to not just shoot the deer, but then they harvest the deer. They eat the deer or bring them to Hunters for the Hungry. You have you'd look at a grass-fed beef. Well, that's Wagyu beef. That's at $30 a pound. Well, this is very organic. And so you have excellent lean meat. You have folks that are using it or donating it to Hunters for the Hungry. You have them helping our city and our citizens to not have their azaleas eaten and all their new shrubbery just slaughtered. So I'm very thankful. Having these extra little items that are changes, I think are good. Having that, I remember years ago, I talked to Mr. Troxel a long time ago, and it's a whole different day now. Before it used to be, well, you'd come and, well, maybe we'll give you a permit, maybe we won't. Well, you got to do, I'll get to it when I get to it. Ryan, the chief deputy, has been chief deputy animal, what's his official title? Chief Deputy Animal Control or whatever. Chief Animal Warden, there you go. Chief Animal Warden. With that, it's been a lot more efficient. And I thank Jerry for saying, yeah, these are reasonable changes. They're not something that has to take lots of time. The shooting from an elevated position, even if you're up here, 1.5 feet, let alone 8 feet, you're going to be in good shape. Having the ability where there's not a tree, you have to either have a tree stand or you have a lot of the tree stands that I've purchased over the years. Some of them had a ladder built in that were 8 feet. And then you're standing up anyway. You're not shooting from sitting down. So even where you are, you're standing. And so that's giving you a couple more feet even from the bottom. So your geometry is still down more. So I hope we can approve this today with the caveat that I think if there are problems, maybe the city attorney could meet with the animal warden to make sure that there are not state problems in the fact of hunting coyotes. That's the only thing, but they are a nuisance species. So I imagine there's no problem with that. Maybe you're ready to.
Just a really quick to your point, sir. It is a nuisance species, and it's an open season.
It is, okay. So that
It is an
isn't an
open
issue.
season for
Okay.
coyotes, according to Virginia law. So there's no kill permit either required for them as it is for in hunting deer. So it's a little different type species.
Yep, yep, good deal. So I'm hoping we can, approve this tonight. Looks good, so thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mike something, please.
You're like the expert witness in a trial, I guess, but not in a trial.
Hey,
Well,
Mike,
shoot, I'd have brought cookies if I knew. Yes, sir, Mr.
I
Taylor.
know most of your deers are still when you take them out,
Yes, sir.
but that coyote, he's fast.
So we don't take shots at running or whatnot animals. When coyotes typically come through the woods, a lot of times they're sort of trotting. But if we know that there are coyotes around, we can call to them and get them to stop. The same as we do for deer. Deer tend to stop and graze a little bit more than coyotes. If a coyote's stopping and grazing, it's probably bad for a pet.
I saw one on Washington Street. He was fast, man.
I bet he was.
You know,
I bet he was. No, we take ethical shots, and so we just
won't follow him with that.
No, because we are still responsible for what happens with that arrow once we release it. And so if we were to, and it says specifically in the ordinance that if we were to strike somebody else's property, we would be in trouble for that. And we would have consequences for that.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Since he's here, can I ask one question? Since we're talking about Wile E. Coyote, how about using one of those big anvils or piano? Does that work, or is that?
If I could figure out how to take a coyote with an anvil, I would maybe call up the Roadrunner and see how it goes. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and vote, please.
Ordinance with changes.
Did you get Larry's?
No, not yet. He's getting it. Mayor Reed, did you cast your vote?
I did. You want to do it again?
Yeah, it's not showing up. Let me reset the vote really quickly.
Oh, it says I already voted.
Okay.
It says I already voted. So let me do it again.
Okay. So yes. Okay. The motion passes 6-0.
Okay, consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2025 city, federal, state aid fund budget and appropriating $100,200 to fund a behavioral health docket coordinator. This item went to our finance committee earlier today, and I'll defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Feraldi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This did come with a recommendation from Finance Committee, and it's a pleasure to continue having more services to address mental health issues in the city. I don't know if our Commonwealth Attorney was here to speak to that position or not, because I don't see anything else on the agenda. So she's graciously sat through this meeting and would want to afford her the opportunity to speak. But as she's coming up, I would motion for approval from Finance Committee.
Great, thank you. Hello.
Hello, thank you, Mayor Reed, Vice Mayor Feraldi. I just want to say having a docket coordinator is a necessary piece for us to be able to build this docket, increase our caseload. The best I can liken it to is our recovery court, which was formerly known as a drug court. The city's been gracious enough to help support us in that as we obtained grants. We have a docket coordinator for that, and our program has increased and helped serve the needs of those, addressing those root causes of why people are coming through the criminal justice system, trying to stop that cycle of recidivism of them coming back, and now addressing it through mental health. So this coordinator position would be very helpful for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Well, since this came through finance, it does not require a second. So is there any further discussion? Dr. Wilder?
I'm just glad to see the services coming to our community. We have the drug court, and that has been very successful. And with so many mental health challenges in our community, I think this court will be as well needed for our citizens. So I appreciate the persons who got the grant and coming forward for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No. Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
All right, initiating the vote to approve. The motion passes 6-0.
Okay. Consideration of adopting a resolution directing staff to prepare and execute agreements to resolve the Region 2000 landfill litigation. This item was presented to council during our business item briefings earlier today. May I have a motion? Do I have a second? Council missions?
Yeah, no, I think this is great. You know, commend you guys for the work you've done going back and forth. I know it was kind of all hands on deck. I mean, how many localities we're talking about? Us, Amherst, Nelson, Campbell, Appomattox.
4.
4?
Lynchburg, Campbell, Appomattox, next.
Okay. So the 7 of us are hard enough to deal with, right? Multiply that by 4. And that's what you guys are essentially dealing with as you're trying to kind of wrangle everybody together. So I appreciate that you guys have been able to get done what you get done. You know, like I mentioned earlier, there really is no downside on this because not getting it done has a much bigger downside, and we have to have somewhere to put our trash. And this secures our future of somewhere to put our trash for many, many years to come. And I think that's important. There's some things that we need to do really well. Get rid of trash is one of them. So.
Councilman Helgeson?
I'm on the Central Virginia Planning District Commission, but I know that was the Region 2000 and they had overseen some of those, but there's no, I can vote objectively and impartially on this. So whether there is something or not, it's, I appreciate this. You know, it's interesting when you watch how the Region 2000 and the Central Virginia Planning District Commission has tried to really work together amicably on lots of things that are regional. And this is one that really is fairly easy because, as was pointed out earlier today, the cost of a landfill. Nobody wants a landfill by their house, you know, because of the smell or all the different things that happen, just like we have done and discovered with Concord Turnpike. Lots of problems. And so with that, I'm working as a region, working collectively is usually good. The problem is when somebody feels like they want to get some of the money, and I recognize the butting of heads. Hopefully now this is saying, okay, we can quit butting heads. We can all go our separate ways. 2 of us are going to go hopefully together so we can actually have a 2-party regional system that really allows for lots of trash. Because it's, and I realize opening up a new landfill or having to have a separate site where you put it and then only to transport it to Amelia or wherever you have to go, with the cost of fuel, with the cost of trucks breaking down, all those things be very difficult. So hopefully we have enough land between Lynchburg and Campbell to actually expand that landfill so we can put the trash in there for years and decades to come. I do hope the other 2 counties, hope that Appomattox and Nelson read this and say, you know, they got something out of it, even though probably rightfully so, they probably shouldn't have, but they can hold their heads up high and say, look, we got something for our citizens. With that, hopefully this will work going forward. I'm glad that Campbell, who is the biggest, has the biggest footprint for the landfill, the biggest amount to either lose or to gain, and for their citizens as well as they're expanding the landfill off Livestock Road. There's going to be some citizens over there that don't want that expansion. And so they're going to have to make some tough choices over in that area to make sure that it can expand. And so with that, I think this is a great, you know, it's a good, as best as you can going forward resolution. You know, the only thing is hopefully that going forward, when we and Campbell join, since it'll be 2 parties, that we're able to figure out what happens with another Mexican standoff. That you vote yes and I vote no. Earlier today, 3 voted yes, 3 voted no. 3 voted no, 3 voted yes. What do you do with the Mexican standoff when you have even numbers? Hopefully that'll be something that you'll, ponder going forward. How we can exit amicably, if that needs to be, but hopefully we won't. Hopefully this will be good for 30 years to come. So thank you.
Dr. Wilder?
Yes, I just want to commend the staff working on the project and negotiating, because we have talked about this for quite a while. So I'm so glad to see it come to a hopefully close to an end. But thank you to the staff for really working diligently on this project and doing what's best for our city and our citizens. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, let's vote. Got it.
All right, initiating the vote to approve.
Should I not recycle this?
That was a trashy joke.
The motion passes 6-0.
Get it done.
All right, consideration of introducing a resolution approving the fiscal year 24 fourth quarter adjustments. This item was presented to council during our business item briefings on September 10th, 2024. May I have a motion? Your question?
Would it be prudent to approve this absent the components related to council pay?
Yes, I think you could.
They're not included.
They're not included.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just wanted to check.
So may I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? I will second it. Dr. Wilder?
Okay. We talked about this previously. No other comments. Thank you.
Ditto. Any discussion? Let's vote.
All right, initiating the vote to approve.
Donna, this is the amount that you said was 5 point, whatever the total.
First quarter, the second meeting in October, after we do the public notice twice.
The motion passes 6-0.
Okay, great. This meeting is adjourned. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on October 8th, 2024 at 4 p.m. in council chamber.